Welcome into the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We'll be here with you for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports topics. Wade coming to you from his home. I am here at the Main Street Murray Studios in Columbia hanging out. Got a couple of assignments post-show, and so needed to be a little bit south of my headquarters in Franklin. But yeah, we're here and we'll be here for a while. Wade, what's up, man?
What's up, Mo? Good to be with you. Good to see you. Good to be with everybody today. Don't you dare touch my Lego set back behind you now. We worked way too hard to get the jazz quartet put together. And it's assembled, but it's not the most sturdy, shall we say. So don't be moving around too much in the studios there. But yeah, good to be with you, partner.
I'm trying to stay clear of the back wall. There is a lot of stuff up there that while nice, not necessarily stable, let's say. And so I want to respect that, and hopefully anybody else occupying this space will do so as well, because, you know, the last thing I want to do is come in here and see stuff falling apart.
Yeah, that'd be a bad cleanup job. I mean, it's like a 1,500 piece set, 2,000 piece set almost. So that's an industrial size vacuum job minimum right there.
That's one of those things that you put together once, right?
Put together once, depending on your viewpoint, if, Stringer's head fell off back behind you too from the wire, some people might be happy, others might be sad. But yeah, a lot of stuff that's not necessarily secured back there, but it's good to see you in the studio and looking forward to a big show today.
Absolutely looking forward to a big show. In the second hour, we'll be joined by our guy in Vegas, Willie G. Ramirez, talking a little WNBA. Wade, we've talked about the Aces a bit on this show. We'll talk about it some more in the next hour, but I saw a headline somewhere talking about the Aces window has closed. And, I just want to get Willie's input on that, whether how accurate he feels like that is, among other things in the WNBA. There's plenty to talk about. They've got their All-Star game coming up next weekend, and obviously a lot of excitement about that. But yeah, that was one of the draws, one of the thought processes in trying to get Willie on, just to talk about the Aces and where they are right now. They got a big ball game this weekend at home. Looking forward to checking in with him. In the next segment, we'll be joined by Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7. There's a little going on this summer with Tennessee baseball, but there could be a little more going on because the Major League Baseball draft is this weekend. And I'm interested to see just how they are going to be impacted from a recruiting standpoint and that kind of thing by the draft, who they've signed that they feel like may or may not get there, that kind of thing. And I think Ben can probably give us some insight on a lot of that. So looking forward to talking to Ben. I'm sure we'll talk some football as well, because again, SEC football media days are coming up next week down in Atlanta, and talking season has already begun. The Big 12 has had theirs. We're going to get into a couple of items out of there later in the show as well. But yeah, Willie G. Ramirez in the second hour, Ben McKee in the second segment. We'll also be talking some Major League Baseball, little sounds. We've got some basketball, both college and professional, to talk about. Also some pro and some college football to get into. And we'll get you ready for the weekend with some stuff coming up, some stuff wrapping up, some stuff continuing. So all of that in the weekend warm-up here to wrap things up on this fine Friday afternoon. Wade, what else you got on your mind as we head into today's show?
Heading into today's show, I was downtown this morning. UFC's coming to Nashville. They'll be at Bridgestone Arena tomorrow night. We were at weigh-ins today. One of the Clarksville, former Rossview standouts, Nate Landwehr, will be fighting in the featherweight division. So good news for him. He made weight, so he will get to take place tomorrow night. So that would have kind of ruined the atmosphere tomorrow night. But looking forward to a big weekend. That'll be kind of the highlight in many regards for me tomorrow night. But there's a lot more to get into. We kind of are rounding the bend, so to speak, in terms of the summer. At least Maybe not on the calendar, but in terms of our calendar, it feels that way. We talked about Nashville, got a big matchup. We'll mention them a little bit later at Inter Miami this weekend, but kind of a sneaky fun weekend in terms of a lot of sports stuff going on.
It's a quality, not quantity type weekend, feels like.
Yeah.
Stuff going on, but not a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, we'll be getting to all of that over the next couple of hours. So let's go ahead, now that we've set the tone, and get started with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Time, boys and girls. It is your Friday rundown. That means we give you Thursday results, and we start with Major League Baseball, where Vegas takes one on the chin. It was the first under in the series last night as the Athletics defeat the Braves in 10 innings. 5-4 was your final, as again it goes 10 innings before the A's get the win. Minor League Baseball, just 9 innings, but a nice win for Nashville. They pick it up 3-2 over the Durham Bulls. WNBA action last night. The Lynx with a 91-82 victory versus the Sparks. And a nice victory for the Mystics over the Aces. Hate to say it, but 70-68 was your final last night. Again, Washington over Vegas.
Today's schedule in Major League Baseball: Texas travels to Houston in the opener of a 3-game series here before the break. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10 between the Rangers and Astros. At 7:15, the Atlanta Braves will continue their road trip. They are at St. Louis in the opener of a 3-game series. Again, that's a 7:15 start. You can see it on FanDuel Sports. The Nashville Sounds continue their series over at Durham. That's a 5:35 start this evening. You can hear it on 94.9 FM. And in WNBA action, the Atlanta Dream goes north, taking on the Indiana Fever. That's a 6:30 start on Iron. That'll be followed at 9 on Iron by the Connecticut Sun and the Seattle Storm.
Good little doubleheader to close out our Friday slate. Let me talk to you guys about Saturday. We get action cranked up at 1:15 on the Diamond as the Braves do travel to the Cardinals. That, again, is a 1:15 first pitch. You can see it on FanDuel Sports South. Astros and Rangers will be on Fox tomorrow night. That game is a 6:35 first pitch. Yes, 6:35 Astros hosting the Rangers tomorrow night on Fox. The Sounds continuing their series with the Bulls in Durham. 5:35 will be your showdown time there. MLS, I teased it a moment ago, but it will be Nashville at Inter Miami. 6:45 and not a moment before will be your kickoff time. You can see it on FS1. You can also see it on your traditional MLS package on Apple TV. WNBA schedule for Saturday. It'll be Minnesota at Chicago. Should be a fun game that tips off at noon on ABC. And at 3 p.m. on CBS, it'll be Golden State at Las Vegas.
Sunday schedule at 1:10. It's the Rangers finishing up at the Astros. At 1:15, it's the Braves finishing up at St. Louis against the Cardinals. That game can be seen on FanDuel Sports. 12:05 start for the Sounds in their finale over at Durham. Full slate of WNBA action, full being 4 games. Dallas is at Indiana. That's a 12 noon tip. You can see it on ABC. The Atlanta Dream is at the New York Liberty at 2 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, the Connecticut Sun travels across the country, taking on the LA Sparks. And also at 5 o'clock, another cross-country trip, this one for the Mystics, heading to Seattle, taking on the Storm. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And the Tennessee Titans will be holding their annual high school football media day next Thursday. That's July 17th. It's from 8 to 2 o'clock, and a number of teams will be available for media outlets to hang out with. Coaches and players will be on hand. That'll take place, I guess, at the club level. Yeah, in the West Club. looks like there are nearly 40 teams lined up for this event, Wade. So it's going to be a great chance for folks in the media from across Middle Tennessee to get in there and shake some hands and touch base with a number of programs. Christ Presbyterian is among those who have already RSVP'd. Brentwood Academy, Blackman, Gallatin. I'm just kind of scanning over this list real quick. Fred Burnett and his McGavick Raiders are set to be on hand. Kid Hartsfield and Mount Pleasant. Nashville Christian, your defending Division 2A state champions, will be on hand, as will Class 6A champion Oakland. Ravenwood and new coach Ricky Rodriguez are set to be in the house. Again, nearly 40 teams already, and we're still a week away, so I would imagine that thing's not locked up yet, and there are still some teams that will wind up showing up for this. But, just another sign. Football's right around the corner.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It is staring a smack dab in the face. And, yeah, next Thursday, big day. Like you said, man, ton of schools. I mean, it will be the biggest car wash in Nashville, I have no doubt, when they crank things up. And another kind of neat wrinkle, obviously the Titans do such a great job with kind of partnering with local high schools, with obviously local athletics in general. But kind of a unique way of doing this, obviously, because you can filter a lot of folks through there in kind of a cool professional setting. Obviously great for the student athletes to get some media experience at a young age, but then also you couldn't ask for a better backdrop. The only way it really can maybe get better is if you were in the new Nissan Stadium, but you got to stick with the old one this year. So with that being said, should be a fun event. Man, like you said, this list of schools is very, very lengthy. There's a ton of great talent. Obviously, some really great coaches in the mix there, too. Should be a lot of fun next week.
Yeah, and, with a number of new coaches on hand this season, this is going to give you an opportunity to interact with some of them, as well as I know MBA is among others that will be unveiling a new coach this time around. The Big Red will be on hand for this one. Nolansville has elevated a coach. Again, Ricky Rodriguez taking over for Will Hester at Ravenwood. Rodriguez coming off of the girls flag football invitational state championship this spring, so he's already got a trophy under his belt, looking for the double this fall, I guess, but no pressure there. Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway for me, though, again, is football is right here on us.
It's right on us. And the other cool thing is you got some schools mixed in that metro market. This may be, we do Main Street Preps. I think we do a phenomenal job of covering all these schools, but there's just so dang many. It's tough to get everybody out and trying to get them the coverage that they need and deserve. This is a great opportunity for some of those schools that kind of are a little underserved in terms of media or otherwise publicity. So a chance to, like I said, kind of shine on the big stage a little bit. And, there's going to be some great clips that come out of this. It wouldn't be a high school athletics if there wasn't a few flubs along the way and a few bloopers. But that's kind of what makes the whole thing fun, right? I mean, you get a chance for these student athletes to kind of if you're going to make a mistake, this is where you want to make it. Kind of a low stakes environment with a lot of great coaching and support staff behind you. So kudos to the Titans. Josh Corey and his staff obviously do such a great job of kind of spearheading these local efforts. And, man, I, again, just cannot be more blown away by the number of schools that are going to participate in this thing. And like you said, we're probably going to pick up a few between now and then.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say some other coaches will get back and kind of look at their schedule and figure, we can make this work for a day, or we can make it work early in the day and then come back and get some work in when we get back.
Or look at this list and say, oh, well, this school's going. Well, I better get my team up there.
Tighten up.
Yeah,
that's it. So again, we can't say enough about the Titans' efforts to put this together, and for the coaches and the programs that are taking advantage of it, kudos to them as well. So looking forward to seeing a bunch of them down at Nissan Stadium next Thursday. Again, festivities kick off around 8 o'clock in the morning and continue through the afternoon. So looking forward to seeing a bunch of our high school football folks down at Nissan Stadium for the Tennessee Titans High School Football Media Day next Thursday. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back to continue the weekend warm-up edition here, we will have Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7 talking little University of Tennessee athletics, specifically baseball, but I'm sure that won't be where it winds up. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
3-3.
Busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
I'm ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Weekend warm-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Joining us now from Knoxville, Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7. Mr. McKee, good Friday afternoon to you.
Happy Friday. How are y'all?
What's up, Ben?
Doing well, man. Liking that cap. It's a good-looking cap. I like that cap a lot better than some other caps you have worn on this show. Let me just put it that way.
Well, I just want you to know that you have a Max Fried Yankees All-Star jersey headed your way in the mail.
Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind.
Now that's a personal touch from Ben. I like that, actually.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I started that, so I deserve that. That's good. That's good.
I'm just glad
Ben,
for your son that he's not going to end up starting the All-Star game in Atlanta. Aaron Boone was going to have an interesting choice, him or Scooble. Scooble's had the better year, but Max Fried going back to Atlanta, do you give him the start? So I'm glad that Aaron Boone's not going to have to put Braves fans through anything, since Fried's not going to pitch in the All-Star game.
Well, Braves fans are going through a lot right now. That would have just made perfectly good sense in the year that we're having if Max Fried had gotten the start in that ball game wearing a Yankees uniform. That would have just fit with everything else that's going on. Ben, who are the next major leaguers coming out of Knoxville?
Well, there's a bunch. Drew Gilbert's knocking on the door, but there's going to be a bunch selected this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Tennessee, they set new records every single draft the last couple of years, and I think they're going to challenge the past couple, because there's going to be a lot selected off of this year's team. They have a couple of transfer commitments that they're going to be nervous about in the draft. They've got high school signees they're going to be nervous with. But in terms of the current players, you're looking at potentially 4 first-round picks. I mean, Liam Doyle will be a top 10 pick, most likely. He's been up to number 2 to the Angels, which would be pretty cool for Tennessee fans because then you would have Liam, Christian Moore, and then once Ben Joyce gets back healthy, you could potentially here in a couple of years have a trio of Vols holding it down for the Angels. But Liam will be a top 10 pick. I think Gavin Keelan's going to go middle of the first round in the teens. Andrew Fisher, he's kind of a borderline first-round pick. He's certainly going to be, I would say, top 30, top 35. He could sneak into the back end of the first round. But they also have a bunch of compensatory picks. So I think at minimum he's going to be a compensatory pick, which is typically that 30 to 40 range. You've seen Jordan Beck, Blake Burke last year. I think Billy Amick last year was also in that range. It's kind of that fringe first-round pick. Marcus Phillips is getting some into the first-round buzz and also probably going to go in that 30 to 40 range. And then kind of from there, there's going to be several guys that get drafted. It's just a matter of where. Dean Curley should go in the top 50. A.J. Russell, mid-state native, should go in the top 50. Where's Nate Snead? I think he's probably – I wouldn't be surprised if he sneaks into the top 50. He did have a bit of a down year. I imagine that he did not have the year that he would have liked, but then he goes to Arizona the week after the season and really turned heads at the combine with his velocity. So he'll be a top 50, top 70 pick, which is like 3rd, 4th round, maybe 5th. Brendan Arvidsson, that's a big one for Tennessee. Where's he going to be selected? I think some team's going to take a chance on him. And then there's others as well. Dalton Bargo is somebody that Keith Law has number 90 on his big board. So he could go earlier than I think people anticipate. Tanner Franklin should get drafted. And then you kind of have a trio towards the end that will round out the current Vols of Bargo's one of them, but also Reese Chapman and Cannon Peebles. I think they should go within the first 10 rounds, probably that 7 to 10 round range. And I don't see Chapman or Bargo coming back, but maybe if Peebles doesn't get what he's looking for, I would kind of be surprised. But there's a world in which we live that Cannon Peebles is back for another year.
All right. Ben, I'm kind of intrigued toward the Tennessee coaching staff or anything like that, but do you feel like the way he was used maybe kind of impacted the way he has been perceived by professional evaluators?
Say that name again, you cut out.
I said Nate Snead. Would how he was utilized, would that have had an impact on what folks think of him, do you think?
Yes, absolutely. Now, I think Snead was utilized based off of how he was performing. So I would not say that Tennessee misused Nate Snead. I think there are a couple of instances in which they could have given him a longer leash or gone to him in this situation, that situation. I'm not saying that they necessarily used him perfectly, but I don't think that they misused him to the point to where it's going to affect his draft stock. There were individual scenarios where maybe I would have liked to have seen him gone another batter or two, but I think they kind of viewed him as a bullpen arm. And obviously when you're that age, you are one of the top draft prospects. You want to start, right? That increases the amount of earning potential. We all want to start. I pitched in high school. I always wanted to start. I didn't want to come into a game. I still like to come into a game, but if you were going to allow me to pick, I'd rather start too. But I do personally believe that Nate Snead is at his best when he is a 1-inning fire-breathing dragon. Just come in and just let that thing rip. And that's kind of what you saw at the combine, where he had, I don't know exactly how much he threw, but he didn't throw much. But when he did throw, he let it loose and he turned some heads. I think that's when he is at his best. And you saw it not this past season, but the championship season where he was a 1-inning guy and he just came in and he let it eat. I think that's when he is at his best. Now, I think he can be more than that, but I think he needs to develop his secondary pitches a little bit more. and throw those more consistently. He needs more than a fastball. The hitters nowadays, they're not intimidated by 99 to 101. It makes it harder to hit, but they're not intimidated by it because they see it fairly often. It's not 20 years ago where it was like one guy out of every 100 guys could do that. Now everybody sees that type of velocity. So I don't think Tennessee misused him. I think he's capable of doing more if he develops his secondary pitches, but I do prefer Nate Snead when he's that fire-breathing dragon in the ninth inning and just lets that fastball eat, because it's a big-time fastball.
Ben, you guys kind of rattled through a bunch of names there, and my immediate thought was, who maybe helped or hurt their stock the most this season, if you had to pick one or two guys for Tennessee this year? Like I said, going up or down, perhaps.
Snead would be one that I don't think he helped his stock, although I think he helped save it with what he did at the combine. And again, I don't think he had a bad year. I just don't think that he had the year that he wanted. I'm sure there were a couple of outings where he would have liked to have had the command back, but he's still sitting in a really good position. I really enjoyed covering Nate. He's been one of my favorites to cover. And so I'm wishing him the best, and he won't be on the board for very long. I would throw Reese Chapman in there. Reese Chapman got off to a really strong start. He's got so much athleticism and power in the bat, but it's not very consistent. So I would say that he hurt his stock a little bit, but he's still going to be in position to get drafted and sign for a pretty good number. I don't know that – I think Cannon Peebles had a good year, but not a great year per se. I think he was really good behind the plate defensively. He was one of Tennessee's most clutch hitters, but got off to a bit of a slow start. But he, again, like the rest of them, is in position to be drafted and sign for nice money. So I don't think anybody truly hurt their stock. Maybe Dean Curley. Again, I said earlier, he's going to be a top 50 pick. I mean, nobody's going to leave that bat just sitting there. Somebody's going to take a chance on the bat. They're going to view the defensive issues as a one-year thing, because to this point in his amateur career, it has been a one-year thing. He didn't perform that way defensively as a true freshman. But I do feel like maybe got a little slower, showed a little less range in the field on top of the throwing error. So what position does he play? You love the bat, but there's a lot of questions about the defensive side and where he's going to play. So he goes from, at the start of the season, him and Gavin Keelan were mid-first round projections right there in the teens, and now you're not seeing Dean Curley in the first round, and he's thought to be more of a top 40, top 50 type of guy. So still a great range to be in. You're still going to sign for that money, but it's not where you were. So he's probably been the one that's seen his stock decrease the most. In terms of improving the stock, it's the Ole Miss transfers, Andrew Fisher and Liam Doyle. Liam Doyle goes from, you knew he had a ton of potential and probably going to get drafted, but midway through the season, he was thought to be the number one overall pick in the draft until Cade Anderson really lit the world on fire and got going and shoved in Omaha. So Liam just, man, what a development story for Tennessee to add to the list. Andrew Fisher, another terrific development story. That he's thought to be the most big league ready college bat in the entire draft right now. And he was not that at Ole Miss a year ago. Really good, but he was thought of to just be a power bat, and he proved this year he's more than a power bat. He doesn't chase. He makes great contact. He has a great plan at the plate, can hit to all fields. He's just a phenomenal hitter, a professional hitter. So he improved his stock a lot. Marcus Phillips has bumped himself up into the first-round talk. Brandon Arvidsson made a lot of money with what he did against Texas in the SEC tournament. So a lot of guys made themselves a lot of money with the way they played this year. Gavin Keelan, he was kind of projected as a first-round pick this time a year ago when he committed to Tennessee from Louisville, but he cemented that, and if I remember correctly, was kind of a projected late first-round pick, and now he's middle of the first round, and I think he showed that he's got more power in the bat than he showed at Louisville. So there's several guys. Obviously, the top guys, those 4 to 6 names that will be drafted in the top 40 to 50, they really helped their draft stock this year.
Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7 joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Ben, you talked about some transfer guys that maybe Tony V and the staff are a little nervous about, maybe some high school guys that they're a little nervous about getting to campus. Kind of walk through a couple of those and what things look like should they get to campus and what they look like if they don't?
Yeah, with the high school guys, the thing there's a 1A, 1B. They're until they picked up a couple of transfer pitchers. They went out and got Landon Mack from Rutgers. They beat out LSU for him. They got Evan Blanco from Virginia, a lefty, and it kind of looked like they solidified their starting rotation potentially for next year. You throw Tegan Coons in the mix as well, coming back for his sophomore season. But before they picked up those couple of commitments, it was like, okay, well, where's the pitching going to come from, and who's going to round out this projected rotation? And with that in mind, a week or so ago, it was Cameron Appenzeller and Cruz Schoolcraft, a pair of high school left-handed pitchers who are signed to Tennessee. They are the equivalent of a 5-star quarterback, 5-star receiver, 5-star basketball player, Nate Ament coming in, Tobias Harris coming in. They're the real deal. Cruz Schoolcraft is a top 10 player nationally, a two-way player, but he's projected to pitch at the next level. Cameron Appenzeller's from Illinois, an athletic lefty. That was kind of, to me, a week ago before they made some portal additions, was the biggest storyline that I was paying attention to. And Cruz Schoolcraft probably gets drafted in the first round. I don't – there's a chance that he makes it to campus, but I don't know that it's a great chance. Tennessee's really selling him on being a two-way player, which is important to him. And professional organizations are apprehensive of allowing a high school player to be a two-way guy because they want those guys to focus on one side or the other and begin developing there. It's not Jack Caglione where he's proved that he can do both coming out of Florida. So that's one of the biggest storylines I'm paying attention to is the two high school lefties. I don't see Schoolcraft making it, but there is a chance. With Appenzeller, my bold prediction going into the weekend is that he makes it to campus. And that would be just significant. Again, he's the equivalent of a 5 because of how important left-handed pitchers are and how much of a premium they're at. I think he's the equivalent of a 5-star quarterback or 5-star edge rusher, receiver, whatever prominent football position you want to put on it. If we're going to equate things for those who don't follow baseball recruiting. Tennessee's going to be nervous. Tony Vitello's doing the draft coverage again on MLB Network, I believe. He's going to be as nervous as you've seen him while doing that. So that'll be must-watch TV, seeing Tony sweat it out while also trying to give coherent thoughts. But they're feeling good about Appenzeller potentially making it to campus. Not out of the woods yet, but they're feeling good there. The transfer one, which is the 1B storyline, and what I was getting to is now that you've made some big-time transfer additions on the starting pitching front, now the pitching isn't as much of a need. Still a need. You still want to shore it up. You still want to get those big-time talents to campus. But now you're kind of looking at Henry Ford, the Virginia transfer, who some believe is the best transfer this cycle that committed to Tennessee. He's a big-time bat. Not as much of a power bat, but just a well-rounded hitter. Plays right field, plays first base. Just a really good ball player. And Tennessee's going to be nervous for that one. I'd say that's probably 50-50, maybe 55-45 leaning he gets to campus, but Tennessee needs to kind of get out of the first 75 picks or so. He's draft eligible as a sophomore, so that gives him a year of leverage. And Tennessee's – they're nervous, but they think that there's a real chance there as well. And that's the type of bat that can be the difference in them getting back to Omaha or not, them winning a championship or not. They'll still be fine if they don't get him to campus, but it's the type of bat that, boy, you would love to slot in at Lindsey Nelson. So those are like the main storylines I'm paying attention to. There's a couple of no-doubters that are going to sign in the draft. Billy Carlson's a commit from California. He's going to be a top 10 pick. He's not making it to campus. Steele Hall is another shortstop from the Birmingham area. He's going to be a top 15, top 20 pick. Somebody in Tennessee's program joked around with me, unless there's $5 million laying around that I don't know about, he's not coming to campus. So, but there's a couple of others we'll be paying attention to. Trent Grindlinger is a catcher who's like this year's Levi Clark. He's the number 30 overall player in the country, flipped from Mississippi State to Tennessee. He's kind of a second, third round projection that they'll be nervous about. Ethan Moore is another infielder from Illinois that probably is going to sign. He doesn't seem to be asking for a ton, so he's a draft risk. So, and there's a couple of other transfer additions as well. Clay Edmondson is a pitcher from UNC Asheville. a sidewinder who's basically his knuckles almost drag the ground. He releases the baseball so low, and he throws 94 or so, and typically that stuff doesn't make it to campus. Mason Estrada is a pitcher from MIT who is draft eligible and probably is going to end up signing. So they've got their hands full, and they're going to be nervous. And again, I'm excited to see how Tony handles trying to give coherent thoughts on the players that are selected while being nervous about his own players being selected.
And it's funny, Ben, that, you know, as a coach, you kind of choose to put yourself through that stuff because you know when you sign these guys where they are and where they are in the MLB assessment. You know that you sign them to a scholarship, but that don't mean they're going to get there. And that's kind of unique to baseball in the college athletics landscape that you have to deal with that. But I mean, you kind of have to sign those guys, right? And then take your chances.
You do. And there's some from the jump you just realize right away, like there's no chance of them making it to campus. Like the Billy Carlson kid that I mentioned, he was committed to Vanderbilt, decommitted in September or October, and it's been thought all along that he's going to get drafted and sign in the draft regardless. But like that's one that you maybe make sure you get that commitment just so you can give the finger to Vanderbilt in the process after he decommitted because Vanderbilt was not loyal to an assistant coach that he was fond of. So you swoop in and you land his commitment. But like there's guys that you get that you just know right away. There's no chance that he makes it to campus. Now, on the flip side of that, like those pitchers that I was talking about, Schoolcraft and Appenzeller, when they committed in the fall, they were projected as first-round picks, and fans were in my mentions and asking me, like, why even recruit these guys if they're already being projected as first-round picks? I think it's much different with pitchers than it is hitters because of how frequent pitchers suffer arm injuries. And you just never know. This is what I tell people. You just never know what's going to happen between the fall and when they commit and when the draft rolls around in July. Like Anson Siebert he just redshirted at Tennessee this past season, but he was another one of those equivalents to a 5-star football player who the only reason he got to Tennessee is because he had a minor version of Tommy John right before the draft last year. So when Anson Siebert committed to Tennessee, he was projected as a first-round pick. He's this huge righty that throws hard. Why is Tennessee even wasting its time? Well, he still is probably playing somewhere, travel ball, in the fall. He's got a senior season, and he had an injury pop up in his senior season. Scouts go and watch him play, and there wasn't as much life on the fastball, and the stock slips a little bit, and all of a sudden he makes it to campus. And that's kind of the same thing with Appenzeller. Is he was projected as a first-round pick in the fall. He deals with a minor injury this past spring during his senior season. Scouts go to watch him pitch, and the command wasn't there. The fastball was it was more 91, 92 when he had been 94, 95 from the left side. And so his stock dipped. And now Tennessee's probably going to benefit and potentially get him to campus because he had a minor bump in the road during his senior season. So with pitchers, you just never know. And it's always worth taking a flyer on a pitcher because the arms are so fickle, whereas the bats, they're more of a sure thing. So, and like you said, it's just kind of the nature of where Tennessee stands. When you're up there with LSU and Texas as the premier programs in the country and you're trying to win a national championship, you have to get in the deep water, and you're going to take some losses, but you're also going to have some wins that are going to help you win in a major way. And it's just important that you make sure that you are recruiting depth behind those guys. And you are like right now it's like, okay, how are all these guys going to get to campus and fit under this new roster limit of 34? It's going to work itself out because the draft is going to take some from you. You're going to get lucky from a couple of guys. So you're more than happy to swim in those waters, but you just got to make sure that the depth of your class is being handled correctly. And you're not – this was the problem under Dave Serrano is he was snake bitten by the draft, but his classes were so dependent, at least from the outside looking in, were so dependent on Mookie Betts making it to campus, Cabrian Hayes making it to campus. And so when they don't make it to campus, there's not a lot of substance behind those guys. And that's what Tony has done. Now, they haven't ever really been killed by the draft. I think this might be the draft that finally gets them. But even if it does, they have so much talent that will be on campus next year that maybe it makes the difference in them winning the national championship, but it's not going to make or break them potentially getting to Omaha or just being a good baseball team.
Ben, I want to ask you if we can shift gears real quick. I can't help myself. We talked football earlier in the rundown, and I just got the tinglies right now. 50 days till kickoff when we're in Atlanta versus Syracuse. My question is simply, what is the one area that Tennessee, in your mind, needs to make sure they shore up between now and that first game in your mind?
I had somebody ask me this the other night, and they asked me what were the three things that I was looking for in fall camp. And it's basically to put it together with your question, it's the offensive side of the football. And there's multiple layers to that, but is Joey Aguilar turning the football over in fall camp because he's been a bit turnover prone in his college career? Some say that's because of the offensive line. He was behind at App State and other things. So we'll see. That's if I hear that Joey Aguilar isn't turning the football over in fall camp, then that makes me feel better. But I will say, I also don't think it's going to be the end of the world because the guy did get here in May. He's learning a new system. He's going to make mistakes. It's just a matter of he's got to be able to learn from that mistake and not make it a second time. And if he's able to do that, then I think you're going to be feeling really good about Joey Aguilar. If not, then it might be Jake Merklinger's show. But it's the offensive side of the football, and it's you can't look at one group without looking at the other. Like Joey Aguilar needs to step up, but the receivers need to help Joey Aguilar step up. And frankly, I'm more concerned about the receivers than I am Joey Aguilar. I think Mike Matthews is going to have a big year, but who's going to be that other young receiver that steps up and helps him? Is it Braylon Staley? Is it one of the freshmen? Is it Chris Brazel in his second year with the program? I think the tight ends are going to have to help the receivers in a major way with Miles Kitzelman, with Ethan Davis. This is the big prove-it year for Ethan Davis. So, like, we can all talk about the quarterback position, but who's going to step up and help the quarterback? Because at receiver, I think that's a bigger concern than the quarterback position itself. I love where they're at running back. I think they'll be able to run the ball perfectly fine. And then kind of my third thing, I mentioned quarterbacks, receivers. The third thing that I'm keeping an eye on in fall camp that falls under the offensive umbrella is the play of the tackles. I like where they're at on the interior with Wendell Moy and Sam Pendleton, the Arizona and the Notre Dame transfers. I think they're going to be really good at guard. Center is a bit of a question if it's William Satterwhite there in the middle taking over for Cooper Mays. But where's Lance Hurd in his second year with the program? And then how is David Sanders Jr. going to be able to perform as a freshman? I have more confidence in David Sanders Jr. than I do Lance Hurd. And frankly, like Lance Hurd just needs to step up and answer the bell. Third year of college, second year at Tennessee, big-time prospect. Tennessee invested a lot of money into him. Tennessee needs him to step up and contribute in a major way. And if those guys, if Lance Hurd's able to break out and David Sanders Jr. is able to be an all-SEC freshman and hold his own as a freshman like we've seen some other big-time five-star linemen in the past do, then I think they'll be able to run the ball and hopefully make some explosive plays to help take pressure off the running game. But I'm all on the offensive side of the ball. I have trust in the talent they've accumulated on defense and Tim Banks and him getting them going, Rodney Garner, William Inge. I think they'll be fine defensively. It's just a matter of how good. I think what's going to make or break Tennessee this season is that offense, and that's what the side of the ball I'm going to be spending all my time on in fall camp.
Ben, I think the fact that you have so much confidence in the defensive side of the ball is a significant step forward for this program under Josh Heupel. I mean, because there have been questions pretty much, it feels like, about defense for his entire tenure. So the fact that that's where you are with the defense right now, I think speaks volumes.
I think it does as well. And I don't mean to insinuate that they're going to be a juggernaut or anything, because they have questions they need to answer. How do you replace James Pierce Jr. and some of those other linemen? But I think they're going to be strong up front. I mentioned Wendell Moy. I love Jackson Moy on the defensive line. I think he's going to be this year's Omar Norman Lott, that interior defensive lineman that breaks out and ends up being a second or third round pick in the spring. You need Joshua Josephs. He's been fairly productive as he's gotten older, but you need him to have a breakout year. You need Caleb Herring to begin to live up to his potential and his hype. Jordan Ross, the former 5-star, you need him to come along. And there's other guys along the defensive line. I just trust Rodney Garner. Again, I don't know that they're at the level of being a juggernaut yet or being one of the better defenses in the SEC, but I think by the time October rolls around, like, I don't think they'll be a top 3 defense. Maybe they surprise me, but like, I think they'll be one of the better ones in the league. I just trust that coaching staff. I think Rodney Garner does who's going to question him. William Inge has a lot of young talent to work with at linebacker. They need Arion Carter and Jeremiah Thielander to really break out this year, and they need Arion to live up to his potential and hype. But I trust William Inge to get him there along with the other young linebackers. And then in the secondary, that's probably where my concerns, my biggest concerns on defense are at. Who steps up as safety? Will Brooks was really good last year, but aside from Will Brooks, safety play hasn't been very consistent under Tim Banks. And then I like Ricky Gibson, but where's Tennessee going to be at with I'm blanking on his name, Jermon McCoy, him coming off of a torn ACL? How quickly can he get back? It seems like he'll be back first month of the season. It's just a matter of how much is he going to be able to do and when, and how much rust is he going to be able to knock off, which is why the addition of Colton Hood from Colorado was so important. So they've got some puzzle pieces they need to figure out in the secondary. And again, I don't know that they're going to be a juggernaut or be the best defense in the SEC. I don't mean to insinuate that. I just think they have far less questions on that side of the ball. And I have a lot more trust in the position coaches on that side of the ball than I do the offense at this point.
Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7 joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Ben, as always, really appreciate you, and I'll be anxiously awaiting that Max Fried jersey.
You got it. It is on the way. Hope y'all have a great weekend.
See you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben. You too, man. We'll talk. Let's take a break here on the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. When we come back, speaking of baseball, we'll talk a little baseball. Stay tuned.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing weather report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
July 11th, 2000, Starting at third base for the National League, Atlanta's Chipper Jones went 3 for 3, including a solo home run off Chicago White Sox and former Nashville Sounds pitcher James Baldwin. It wasn't enough for the NL Stars as the American League won the Midsummer Classic at Turner Field 6-3. Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux, Andres Galarraga, and Andrew Jones also represented the Braves in the contest, with Galarraga and Jones each getting a hit and Glavine throwing a scoreless inning out of the bullpen. That was this day in Braves history. And ironically, the next All-Star game will be back in Atlanta next Tuesday night not in Atlanta, in Cobb County, but hosted by the Braves at Truist Park. Last night, not a great night or not a great finish for the Braves. Braves battled back from a 3-0 deficit, got the game tied with a Jurickson Profar home run, went up 4-3 on an Ozzie Albies home run. But Dylan Lee got touched up late. Nick Kurtz got to him to tie it up, and Aaron Bummer gives up the game winner. Athletics take 2 of 3 in the series, winning 5-4 last night in 10. A little disappointing. Again, the way Ozzie has struggled offensively, to get that home run from him late to go up 4-3 after Jurickson Profar tied things up early on. Spencer Strider strikes out 11 and 6 2/3, in line for the win until Dylan Lee gives up the homer to Kurtz. Just a tough loss for a team that has had a lot of them, and it's been one-run games in particular that have really done the Braves in over the course of this season. I think I saw where if you flip-flopped their one-run defeats and made them victories, they would have maybe the best record in the National League. It's been a tough go. There have been suggestions that the Braves sold their souls for the 2021 World Series championship. I don't know, but man, I don't know how you explain what they've gone through to this point, but it's been tough.
It's been tough, and yeah, that was a disappointing series, and the bad part is, as disappointing as that one was, you got a couple more games before you can kind of claw your way to the break. And you're right. I mean, that's the age-old question, right? Is would you trade a championship? In Michigan circles, the question was, would you deal with Harbaugh leaving? Would you deal with Connor Stallions for a championship? And usually my answer on that, Mo, is well, flags fly forever.
There you go.
I was at the Final Four in Louisville, beat Michigan. Guess what? They won the game. They still got the title, even though they had to vacate it. But nobody remembers. Nobody remembers really that part. They remember they won that game. So there's something to be said for that. But yeah, the bigger question is, and it's kind of what I hinted earlier in the week, is, at what point we've talked about, all right, do you become a buyer or seller? And then the question that I had was, how much of a seller potentially? Do you really start tearing things all the way down? Do you start looking for a new framework entirely? I mean, this is going to be kind of a interesting crossroads for that franchise going forward.
It really is going to be an interesting crossroads, and this thing, depending on how much you want to put into fan base opinions and that kind of thing, but we used to say in AA we trust. That's gone. In fact, to the point, there are a number of folks in Braves country that are kind of calling for Alex Anthopoulos' head at this point. They just feel like a lot of things have kind of been mismanaged. The offseason was mishandled, didn't go out and get enough, and you can't expect the injuries that the Braves have dealt with, particularly Sale and Schwellenbach, back to back like that. I just don't know that you can necessarily guard against that. I think you're so busy just trying to put a team together that dealing with the what ifs. What if Chris Sale fractures a rib diving for a ball in a ninth inning of a game that, 9 times out of 10 he would have been out of, but Snitker one time decides to let him try to go for the complete game, and that's the thanks we get. I mean, that's why we can't have nice things. Things like that. I don't know how much of this lies at Alex Anthopoulos' feet, but it's starting to get a little ugly down in Atlanta in that aspect. Now, a few wins wouldn't hurt. There's talk about sending Michael Harris at second back down to AAA, see if he can refine his eye. I mean, and I don't know. Does that make sense? Maybe just let him get somewhere and get out of the spotlight and work on some things. But just the fact that we're having to kind of entertain thoughts and questions like that is kind of indicative of where the Braves are right now. It's not good. And, they go to St. Louis tonight, 12 games under 500 at 40-52. Grant Holmes is going out 4-8 with a 3.44 earned run average. The Cardinals defeated Washington 8-1 last night. They improved to 50-44 with that win. It'll be Matthew Liberatore, 6-6 with a 3.70 ERA going for the Cards in this one. And again, the Braves need some good vibes. St. Louis beat up on former Brave Mike Soroka for the Nationals last night. Miles Mikolas struck out, went 5 2/3. He retired 13 straight at one point. So the Cardinals are on a little bit of a roll. It's not going to get any easier for Atlanta here in this last 3 games before the break.
No, and we this is a fascinating series, being the final one right before, because I think a lot of folks thought the Cardinals would be not very bad, but be, kind of an afterthought, especially in that what we perceive to be a pretty crowded NL Central race this year. On the other side, yes, everybody under the sun. Just read an article on MLB.com from March 27th. Their prediction was not only the Braves win the East, they would have the best record in baseball. As we sit here today, Fangraphs.com gives them a 3.6% chance to make the playoffs. So we're talking about just the opposite ends of the preseason expectations. The baseball games will be what they are, but from a kind of overarching storyline standpoint, that's what's kind of intriguing and fascinating to me.
Yeah,
it's almost like MLB knew what, it's like they had the script already written. We're gonna add a little. You thought this was just 3 random games right before the break? Now we'll at least give you a little drama here.
There we go. Texas warmed up for its series in Houston with an 11-4 win over the Angels yesterday. Adolis Garcia homers off of Angels reliever and ex-Vandy boy Carson Fulmer to round out the scoring for the Rangers again in that 11-4 victory. The Rangers 46-48, Houston 55-38. It'll be Jack Leiter going for the Rangers. He is 4-6 with a 4.32 ERA. Lance McCullers Jr. gets the ball for the Astros, 2-3 with a 5.82. And again, Houston trying to right themselves after getting swept by Cleveland.
Yeah, it'll be a fun series, especially with Texas. Not that they needed really any extra motivation for this series, but they're, took 2 out of 3, kind of walloped the Angels. Watched a little bit of this one last night. I mean, in the blink of an eye, it was 2-0, kind of early, and then you go to the fridge and you come back and they scored 7 runs in the top of the third. So this was kind of a laugher early in the contest. So they didn't really need any extra juice for this series, but they kind of got it, especially with Houston kind of struggling at the moment.
Yeah. Home Run Derby field is complete now. Brent Rooker of the Athletics, Jazz Chisholm of the Yankees will join Ronald Acuna Jr., James Wood, Junior Caminero, Cruz from the Pirates, and I'm missing 2 guys. We'll get back to you on that. But yeah, the Home Run Derby lineup has been completed. Thought I could do it from memory, but I'm getting old. Prior to the Home Run Derby, though, the MLB All-Stars Future Game will take place, and former Vandy boy Enrique Bradfield Jr., who is in the Baltimore organization, has been named to take part in that. So you can look for him in Sunday's game. That'll be cool.
Yeah, they do a good job of stretching this thing out, and that's one of the highlights of the weekend. It's kind of a sneaky, cool piece of what they have going on, and the softball game, obviously.
Of course, the celebrity softball game. Yeah, don't forget about that. Sounds won 3-2 at Durham last night. They play again at 5:35 tonight over there. Daz Cameron made his return with a leadoff home run last night and then scored the game-winning run on Jefferson Quiero's 9th inning RBI double. So Cameron with a home run, 2 runs scored, and the Sounds win 3-2 at Durham. Also, Garrett Stallings, 6 innings pitched, 6 strikeouts, gave up a couple earned runs. It'll be Chad Patrick making his first start of the year for the Sounds after coming down from Milwaukee in tonight's matchup. So, Sounds action.
Yeah, Sounds action, and kind of great result for everybody last night. Sounds win, but former Giles County standout Ben Peoples tossed in the 7th. Didn't give up a run, so they didn't tune up Ben. They got to everybody else, but not him.
There we go. That's the perfect result for everybody in this area. Absolutely. Sounds win, and Ben pitch as well. Let's take a break here to close out hour number 1 on the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll get into the grab bag. Stick around. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, gets going right now. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Let's get into the grab bag. But before we do, let me tie up a loose end real quick. The Home Run Derby participants for Monday night include, as I said, Ronald Acuna Jr., James Wood, O'Neill Cruz, Cal Raleigh of the Mariners, Byron Buxton of the Twins, who is a Georgia native. Those were the 2 that I could not remember. Junior Caminero of the Tampa Bay Rays, Brent Rooker, and Jazz Chisholm. Those are the 8 who will go at it. 4-4. I was concerned. They typically try to have 4 from each league, and they achieve that. So, yeah, that's your 8 that will be going at it Monday night. So stay tuned for that. Real quick, getting into some college basketball action. Belmont will be looking for a new men's basketball assistant, I would assume, because Sean Rutigliano has been named head coach at Colby College, a Division III program in Maine. That was announced earlier today. Rutigliano has been on the staff with Belmont for about a pretty good while. I'm looking at two different pieces of information here, and this one doesn't list how long he was there. But he is heading back to the Northeast, where he is originally from, has worked with about 22 all conference honorees during his time at Belmont, including obviously Ben Shepherd with the Indiana Pacers. The second Belmont assistant to leave in the past year or so, after Tyler Holloway stepped away to take over the boys basketball program at Christ Presbyterian Academy last spring. So big move for Coach Bertigliano, heading north, taking over his own program.
Heading north, heading back home, and heading to, as Joe Sullivan has told us a couple times, and great book, Pipeline to Pros. There's something in the water in those D3 schools in particular up in the Northeast. They seemingly produce great coaches, and that is at the college level, but a lot transcend and kind of go to the NBA. And we talked with Joe at some point during this season, if I remember correctly, even NBA teams kind of pick up on some concepts. So, yeah, it's cool he's going back home too, but this will be an interesting move because for whatever reason, that Northeast Division III scene, admittedly, I've not watched a lot of D3 basketball in Maine, but they got it going on up there. So Belmont's got a sizable hole to kind of fill yet again, Mo. Here we are after Penny leaves TSU last week. We're talking about, man, the timing is tough right now.
Yeah. It's a little easier, though, for an assistant than a head coach, I would think. But Bertigliano has been on staff for the last 6 seasons at Belmont. Over that time, the Bruins went 140-54. So solid production during his time there, and sure he will be missed. NBA action. Cooper Flagg finally gets on the floor last night, made his summer league debut for the Mavs against the Lakers. Not a great shooting night for him, 5 for 21, but impressive performance otherwise, feels like.
Feels like our Throwback Thursday guest yesterday, Scott Combs, was texting me about this game last night, and Cooper takes the floor. He's going up against a young man named James on the Lakers, and James, Bronny was kind of giving him the business early, but you could kind of tell, and it seems like the sentiment is there. I don't know how many more games in Summer League we really need out of Cooper Flagg, unless his conditioning is a slight concern. I mean, we're talking kind of a man amongst boys already. We're talking about a pretty safe bet to be a well above average player at worst, it feels like. So, yeah, I don't know how many more we'll see, but it was cool to see him out there last night. Dalton connected with 15 in that game too. So you got a little bit of everything on ESPN.
Yeah, I think that might have been more a boost for TV than anything. What exactly Cooper Flagg is going to prove in summer league plays. Number 1 pick, and it was clear prior to the draft that he was going to be the number 1 pick. So it's how much are you going to learn about Cooper Flagg in summer league ball that you didn't already know?
Right. And, that usually the number 1 overall pick, they don't play a full summer league schedule if they even play at all. So I would not be shocked if, he doesn't see a lot of time. But it was, if you're a Mavs fan, you're obviously still going through some range of emotions from the fallout of the Luka trade. So if I'm a Mavs fan, I just want to see the guy in uniform. And then as quickly as I see him in uniform, I want him off the floor. You don't want to risk anything at this point. You want to have him in bubble wrap to get ready for the start of the season.
Yeah, that would be the nightmare right there. We don't even want to speak of that. But yeah, he doesn't need to be exposed to a whole lot in games that ultimately mean nothing. So show off your new toy and get him out of there. NFL talk. We talked about some folks running into some financial issues in the world of professional sports. Minnesota linebacker Dallas Turner, unfortunately, can be counted among those. Been scammed out of nearly $250,000 apparently in a bank fraud scheme, reported earlier this week. someone called him and said they were with a banking institution and instructed him to wire some money to execute a wire transfer. And he transferred $120,000 on 2 different occasions at a JP Morgan Chase bank. And whoever it was that called wasn't who they represented themselves to be. So they're working on getting Dallas Turner his $250,000 back and holding somebody accountable for that. So it's being investigated. But man, that's tough.
It's tough. And
I don't know. I don't know what the conversation is that winds up with me saying, "Yeah, sure, I'll send you $125,000, no problem," and not know who you are.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was just getting ready to say. I don't necessarily have those kind of problems. When I get the random calls and random texts, they're asking for a lot less amounts than 120,000. So I can only aspire to be on the radar of those scammers, but not good. Hopefully it ends up back in his possession or where it's supposed to be. So got to be careful. Them robocalls and spam texts will get you.
Man, yeah. If you don't know who that number is, it might be best to just kind of leave that one alone for sure. More from the NFL. You know, one of the last things we cautioned you all on as we broke for the 4th of July was be careful with those fireworks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently Najee Harris did not take heed. The Chargers running back sustained a superficial eye injury while engaging in some fireworks activity on the 4th. And, you know, obviously when you talk NFL and you talk fireworks, the thought immediately goes to, you know, Jason Pierre-Paul and the accident that he had that cost him a couple of digits. And so folks from Najee's camp have gotten out or tried to get out in front of this and say, no, it's nothing like that. It's just, it's not serious. He's fine, blah, blah, blah. But Najee Harris was present at a 4th of July event where a fireworks mishap resulted in injuries to several attendees. Najee sustained a superficial eye injury during the incident, but is fully expected to be ready for the upcoming NFL season. So, again, there had been a serious eye injury, but they're trying to set the record straight on that. He was eventually sent to Sanford Hospital for treatment of the injury and is expected to be fine. But you got to be careful with that stuff.
Yeah, got to be careful. My immediate thought on this, though, Mo, is, you know, the NFL usually doesn't allow this these days. But if you're Najee Harris, once you do come back and you are fully healthy, you got to appeal and get a full tinted visor just to have a little rib at yourself there. And looking at him in that powder blue with a dark visor, he's going to be a nice piece of the puzzle for Harbaugh and that staff. They also got that guy, Amarian Hampton from North Carolina, too. That's probably a little concerning if you're a Chargers fan, but glad to hear. You know, I'm also wondering what a superficial eye injury. I mean, are we talking just like a black eye, or what's the deal here?
Maybe he got a scratch or something. I don't know. That's a heck of a question. I would like to know what constitutes a superficial eye injury as opposed to something more than that. But unfortunately, details are a little lacking on this one. So, but hopefully he will be okay. And it's kind of scary to hear. I mean, when you start talking about eye, superficial or otherwise, that really gets your attention.
Yeah.
Sure.
Every time I read a story like this, too, I'm also super thankful and grateful that I didn't sustain any major injuries during the famous bottle rocket and Roman candle wars of my youth. So it kind of takes my breath a little bit when I read one of these, and I just have to thank my lucky stars. Could have been a lot worse.
Could have been a lot worse. Absolutely. I took one in the chest one time, but yeah,
Yeah.
other than that, yeah, the things we do anyway. Um, Trey Lamb, former East Tennessee State football coach who parlayed a 7-5 season in Johnson City into a new gig at Tulsa, shot a 3 over 75 last Thursday at the club at Forest Ridge in Broken Arrow to claim a spot in the Oklahoma Association State Amateur Championship that's coming up here later this month. 2 birdies, 3 bogeys, and a double bogey in his round that got him to 75. And I guess it's okay for Tulsa coaches to play golf as opposed to Auburn coaches these days. You heard of the dust up or the flack that Hugh Freeze is receiving, right?
Yeah. Funny what Auburn / underachieving perhaps, or perceived underachieving will do, right?
Yeah.
Nick Saban can go out and play 3 rounds a day if he wants, and he's okay, right?
Yeah, I guess he's earned it. And Hugh hadn't quite gotten there. But again, Lamb with a 75 to qualify. First time I played it, it's a little quirky. There's 3 or 4 holes that sneak up on you in a hurry. Number 1's really hard. 13 and 14 are really hard. It's a fun course. It's hot out there today. It's 96 degrees. I went to workouts this morning at 6:30, and those guys were sweating pretty good, but it's fun. I love golf. I love competing. I don't know how many more of those I got left in me. It'd be a nice little feather in your cap, I guess, to be able to say that you played in the state amateur championship, even as the coach at the University of Tulsa. So, nice little deal there.
Yeah, and I love that too. Going to workouts at 6:30, I get tired walking 9 holes of golf, let alone playing 18, and let alone after getting up and going through a full set of workouts in the morning. Props to coach. And we got to ask Heather about this. She has yet to ever mention any of his golf exploits when he was at ETSU.
Yeah, we certainly will have to ask her about this when we get her on next week. Talk a little bit about Sonoma, talk a little bit about Trey Lamb as well. We mentioned SEC football media days are coming up next week down in Atlanta. The Big 12 has already had theirs, and it's interesting. Most of these teams will bring their starting quarterbacks, among other folks, to expose them to the media, to let the media talk to them, that kind of thing. You know, Deion Sanders always does things a little differently. Coach Prime brought 2 quarterbacks to Big 12 media days. He brought Caden Salter, the transfer from Liberty, and his incoming freshman, Juju Lewis. And that's wild to me. I don't know. I think if I didn't know who I was going to start, I don't know if I'd bring either one of them, but that's it's an interesting decision. It's a decision for sure.
Yeah, I love that quote. Well, I brought both of them. I didn't know which one's going to start. I do wonder, you get Salter transferring in, and Lewis is, one of their most high-profile, the most high-profile recruit, really, that they've kind of brought without a previous connection there. So, does he really not know? I mean, it seemingly Salter wouldn't have transferred in if he was not going to get the gig, but he does obviously have a really, really talented freshman playing behind him.
And I think that's going to be interesting to watch. And, I've always said if I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose young. And so I would be more inclined to go with a young quarterback in particular if they're anywhere close to even. But again, to your point, Salter doesn't transfer in there if he doesn't think he's going to be QB1. So the fact that they don't know, I don't know exactly what that leans toward, but things are going to be interesting in Boulder, as they have been since Coach Prime came to town, I guess, right? So
yeah, and on the other end, I'm looking at their depth chart. I feel bad. I think he knows his place on the pecking order, but Ryan Staub, if you've ever heard of him, I had not, but he's their 3rd string quarterback. A redshirt sophomore from California. He's probably thinking, man, what the heck? If you're going to bring 2, why not bring 3? I'm the last guy on the depth chart, so you might as well bring me 2. Really sell into it.
Yeah. Throw everybody off. Absolutely. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll talk some WNBA with Willie G. Ramirez. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Weekend warm-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, and we have with us Willie G. Ramirez to talk a little WNBA. Willie, how are you? Oh, Willie, can't hear you.
Can you hear us, Willie? Can't hear you just yet.
He's muted.
Yeah.
He's muted. Okay.
I see his wheels turning though.
There we go.
Man.
There we go. What's up, man? How are you doing?
Doing good. Had some NBA last night. Was out at Cooper Flagg's debut against Bronny James and the Lakers. Packed house. And just doing a couple of shows today, including yours, and going to get a workout in. And then tomorrow we got a packed day in Las Vegas with the NBA Summer League continuing, but the WNBA in the matinee. And then there's a charity softball game that takes place every summer. The Vegas Golden Knights against the Las Vegas Raiders. Proceeds to benefit several different charities around the valley, and it's usually a good time. I actually haven't gone out to any of to the games yet. I think this is the 5th year, I want to say. So I'll be going out there tomorrow night to catch up with some of the players before the Raiders get going in a couple of weeks in training camp, and the Golden Knights in a couple of months.
You sound like you got a busy one ahead of you. We were just talking about the Cooper Flag Summer League debut in the last segment, and to Wade's point, how much do you think we're going to see Cooper Flag in Summer League action?
Considering I talked to Jason Kidd before the game, and he said that he's had enough game film that he wants to see him on the court. And by the sounds of the Summer League coach and Cooper Flag himself, it sounds like they want to get enough time in. He played a lot last night. He played 31 minutes of the 40, 31 and change. I think it was 31:43 of the 40 minutes. I don't know if we're going to see as much game time, but I do think that he'll be in several games. And if they continue to win and get past pool play and get into the tournament side of things, I think that they're going to try to win it. You know what I mean? But I think right now they're trying to build chemistry with what's a young team and figure some things out. And so I think that we'll see him a lot. I just think that the game time, the minutes played, will decrease as they move along, and he won't play as much. It was the opening night. It was against the Lakers, Bronny James. It was a good game, came down to the end. So, yeah, I don't know if they're going to extend and risk injury extending time, but I think we'll see enough of him where he'll get some playing time.
Yeah, to my point a minute ago, Willie, if you're a Mavs fan, okay, you want to see him in uniform just so you know that it was real and that you actually got the Cooper Flag sweepstakes in your favor. But after that, I don't want to see him anymore because I've still got PTSD from the trade, and I just want this guy to arrive nice and neat when the season starts.
Right. If you were so they talked about it last night at the post-game press conference in terms of the way they were defending him. They were trapping him. They were double teaming him. They were, they were physical, but it wasn't the kind of physical that's going to, cause injury. There were times where they were laying off and they were, they weren't necessarily pressuring. I think it was more or less being aggressive because it was opening night. I don't know how much they're going to do that. He might be told to slow things down, to not be as aggressive, because he really was attacking the rim, attacking the paint. He wanted to be involved a lot. So, again, I don't know how much that's going to last because of at the point that you made. But, at some point they got to get out there. I understand. I always understand that philosophy from exhibition to but they run the risk in regular season as much as they run it in any other given time. They got to see him in action. So, you get him out there. That's why I'm saying for playing time purposes, each game, maybe get him out there, get what you need to get, and then get out. If they don't have any desire to win the NBA Summer League, then, don't worry about what the score is. And if it's close or not, and you want to put in your best guns, then just get him in, get him out, play him a quarter here or there, or play him the first half of one quarter, the second half of the next. But again, you either shut him down entirely or don't go, half speed with it, because if playing 31 minutes or 17 minutes, you're running the risk of injury at any given time. If you put him in for 2 minutes, you're running the risk of an injury. So there's only so much you can coddle and baby a professional athlete. I'm always of that mindset. I get the idea behind it. Between summer league, preseason games, in the NFL, you got exhibition, the 2-3 preseason games. They're always under the risk of an injury. Could be week 1, game 1. So, but you got to see what you need to see.
Willie, shifting gears, I saw a headline somewhere online earlier this week, and for Wade and I, it's kind of eye-catching, and we're hoping you can give us a little more insight into it. The Aces play Golden State tomorrow night. The Aces are tomorrow afternoon, 3:00 tip our time. But the Aces 9-11 going into that ball game, and saw something about their window closing. What is the thought around Las Vegas right now? Where are the Aces? What's going on with them? Obviously, Becky Hammond got some frustration going there.
Yeah, it's really hard to make of it. I think there's a collection of things that the problem is that it's not like one thing collectively as a team. I think it's a multitude. I think what we're seeing are a multitude of problems, right? A multitude of issues that can't be corrected as one. They have to be corrected one by one that I don't think Becky foresaw. I keep seeing headlines, get rid of Becky, her time has run out. I keep seeing, different, everyone's got a resolution. And I just don't, the one thing is Becky's not done. It's not, she hasn't run her course. She hasn't lost the locker room. I think that we're seeing, a collection of things with this team that nobody thought was going to take place. Let's start with Chelsea Gray. I was on the Chelsea Gray bandwagon coming out of Unrivaled. She wins the MVP after she leads the Rose BC to the championship. Everyone knew that she was injured last season. She played through it, did the best she could, went to Paris injured. Wasn't an easy season for her. She said that she came back fully healthy. She's feeling great. What I don't think anybody expected, and I don't think that you can prepare for, coach for, is Chelsea Gray has lost a step. And I didn't realize it until I saw them play the Washington Mystics a couple of weeks back. Not the game that they lost the other night, but a couple of weeks back when Shug Sutton took Chelsea Gray to the hole several times, and you could just see that she just wasn't catching up to that first step. And Shug Sutton is a very underrated player, and she's got a quick foot step, but there are better players than Shug. You have your top tier players, you have your really good players, and you have your developing players. And Shug's right there. She's worked her tail off to get where she's at. But there are top tier players that Chelsea Gray is going to have to stop also. So I tend to think that Chelsea Gray may have lost a step defensively on defense. She's still, in my opinion, if I have one game and I need the best passer in the game, I hate to tell all you Caitlin Clark fans, I'm taking Chelsea Gray. She can pass better than anybody in the league. If you give her one game to prepare for, one opponent, I'm taking her passing skills. But the defensive side of things, I think she's lost a step. And she's still clutch with that mid-range fadeaway where she just pops up and you're just not going to defend her. Jackie Young is not having the best year, especially on defense. Jewel Lloyd is having one of her career worst offensive. Now she's improved the last two games, I will say that, but she's having a down year offensively. Becky Hammond said that she's doing things off the ball that are that's helping the team, and she says helping the team win and find its identity. The problem is the team's 9-11, and Becky Hammond, prior to making that statement, had just said we're still trying to figure out who we are. Well, mid-season or a quarter way through the season, you can't do that. So right there is you're supposed to be your big four. From there, it's a brand new basketball team outside of Kirsten Bell, who comes off the bench, like third, fourth off the bench, whenever it may be, sometimes second, sometimes third. It's a brand new team. Dana Evans, Aaliyah Nye, Kirsten Bell, Megan Gustafson debuted last night. Liz Kitley's gone, right? They had to waive her. Now you got Melissa Smith in the mix. So it's a collection of very complex issues with this team that I think Becky is trying to manage as one, and it's not working because you can't. The only thing I haven't mentioned is Asia Wilson. And Asia Wilson is dang near the most perfect basketball player that you could ask for, but she cannot continue to shoulder the burden on her own every single game, which she is doing. And she's never going to blame her teammates for that. The problem is that if you can't get all those individual issues that are taking place that you can't fix with one big Band-Aid, then Asia Wilson is going to wear her body down, which we're seeing. She's already been out with a concussion for 3 games. Now she's out with this wrist injury. And guys, it may not be broken, but those ligaments are small. And I just tweeted out, I had a conversation with a leading sports physical therapist to get an idea after watching the video, break her fall with that wrist, what it could be. Do you compare it to those grade 1, 2, 3 sprains with an ankle? And this PT said that they're worse because it's a smaller joint, smaller ligaments, could take up to 3 months if it's a grade 3 sprain. So when they say, hey, it's not broken and the timetable's uncertain, well, that fits the bill. Doesn't mean that it's right, but at the same token, she could be out for quite some time.
And if she's out, Willie, obviously that is a very scary proposition. And you've even wrote as much on your website. They're the strangest team, and that's the team I cheer for. But they're maddening in the sense you can beat a team like Phoenix on the road, and then you've had so many stinkers as of late. And my question, kind of piggybacking off Mo at the beginning, are we going to reach perhaps a tipping point? Is there a scenario where later in this year you maybe start thinking, all right, this clearly is not working, so we're going to have to kind of scratch things and maybe start selling a few pieces as best we can?
Well, I don't know if you sell off some pieces, because the idea behind that is that I've always believed the teams that pack it in for the season are getting rid of bigger pieces to help other teams get stronger. And then you're in rebuild mode. And I don't know if the Las Vegas Aces are in full rebuild mode. Why are you going to get rid of some of your bench players or the people that are on 1-year contracts, or Kirsten Bell's on a guaranteed contract? She talked about it at Media Day this year, in that she knows that this is a big season and she's got to prove herself that if she wants to stay in Las Vegas. So I don't know if you start getting rid of pieces to the puzzle, because who are you going to get rid of? You're going to get rid of Jewel Lloyd. You're not getting rid of Asia Wilson, right? So you're going to get rid of Jackie, Chelsea, or Jewel. If somebody comes strong with like 2 first-round picks and a major name, and it's a playoff team that needs one final piece to the puzzle, and you're ready to sort of cash in, then maybe. But I don't know if the front office is going to do that. We talked about this the last time I was on the show. Wait, I think you were off that day. But, the one thing that this team is missing is a DM. There's no general manager. You have President Nikki Fargas and you have Coach Becky Hammond, who's wearing 2 hats in trying to play a general manager's role. Her and Nikki are sort of trying to play that role. So you don't have someone moving those chess pieces and trying to figure those things out. Not saying that Nikki or Becky's not capable, but there are other things during the season that they have to look into. I think that they're going to have to do a lot of sort of soul searching during the All-Star break, is what they're going to have to do, and answer those questions. What are we going to do? How long is Asia? What's the reality? Because long-term, when you have a post player that's turning and dependent on that wrist, right, do we risk long-term damage when she was healthy and still weren't, still was a 500 team? Now they're 9-11. They're sitting in 9th place. They're hosting a Golden State team that, guys, since June 7th, what is that, 23, 24? That's 5 weeks. Since June 7th, Golden State is the number 1 defensive team in the league in holding teams to 74 points per game. They're the only team, the Valkyries are the only team in the WNBA since June 7th to hold a team to less than 41% shooting at 37.3% from the field. No other team is doing that defensively. So now they're going to come in with confidence after beating up the Aces in San Francisco against the Asia Wilson-less team. The Aces are in big trouble. The Aces are in big trouble.
I was afraid you'd say that.
Yeah. Willie G. Ramirez joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, talking some WNBA. And the thing is, Willie, as good as the Aces have been for as long as they have been, it's tough because nobody's waiting for them to come back up again. I mean, as you said, they're 9-11 right now. They're in 5th place in the Western Conference. The Lynx are who the Lynx are. Phoenix has really kind of restructured things. They're 14-6. The Storm 12-8, and your Valkyries, that you just mentioned, are 10-9 coming in tomorrow. So nobody's waiting on the Aces, and nobody's gonna really extend them much of a helping hand at this point. It's just they got to grit it out some kind of way.
They do, and so they go to San Francisco, and then they host Golden State. Then they go to Dallas on Wednesday, and then they go to the All-Star break. So in reality, let's just assume Asia Wilson's out, right? And she's not going to play in the All-Star game, assumedly. They don't come back till the 22nd. They play Atlanta, which is a very good Atlanta team with Alicia Gray, Ryan Howard, and that crew. Brittany Griner. Who's stopping Brittany Griner if Asia Wilson's not there? Alyssa Smith is a fantastic player. Megan Gustafson's good, but they're not Brittany Griner caliber. They'll slow her down here and there, especially in Alyssa, but that's a tough draw. Then the Aces have to go on the road and face this gauntlet. The Indiana Fever, the Minnesota Lynx, the Dallas Wings, and the Sparks. Now, Dallas and the Sparks are below the Aces, but when you start a road trip with back-to-back games in Indiana and Minnesota, 1 day to travel, then play Dallas and Paige Beckers, which could be healthy and improved by then 1 day to travel and go to LA, which has already beaten you, with Kelsey Plum and De'Erica Hamby, who will always play some of their best games against the Aces at this point. Oh, by the way, and then come home and host the Lynx and the Valkyries. So realistically, I kid you not when I say this, over those 9 games, it's highly likely that they lose 7 or 8 of them if they don't get their act together and if Asia Wilson's out. We could be looking realistically by the time Golden State, they go back to Frisco for the second of a back-to-back. We could be looking at an 11-18 team, an 11-19 team. And at that point, you have to decide whether or not you're checking out for the season.
Yeah, I mentioned, kind of a sell-off. Really, I'm honestly more scared or worried about that part because, I don't know, maybe it's just the optimist in me, but I do feel like there's enough talent on the roster sheet, that if they can kind of scratch their way into some favorable playoff positioning, in a short series especially, they could do some damage. But the scenario you just described right there, the playoffs really could be in question at that point.
Well, you say shortened series, but the problem is that they've extended the playoffs this year. So those series is
you bursting my bubble yet again, Willie. Man, I'm striking out left and right. My Aces optimism right now.
I know. We need to get you a team there in Nashville so you can just focus on that Nashville team.
Now you're on to something.
And bring Candace in, right? We need Candace in there. We need Candace we need Candace Parker to bring a franchise to Nashville and them to hire Lisa Leslie as the coach. That's what needs to happen. That would be fantastic. But I just, guys, it's disheartening to watch because what we're seeing is I'll tell you one thing. One of the most underrated and one of the most hardest working rookies who should be on the all-rookie team is Aaliyah Nye, who came from Alabama and is playing her tail off every single game. I would have to say right now, for consistency in effort, maybe not in shot production because she's had a couple of stinkers, but in consistency and effort and leaving it on the floor every time, every minute, every second she's been out there, Aaliyah Nye might be the player of the Aces who has done that. So it's disheartening because this is the team that even in games where Asia has gone out, when she went out against the Liberty, when she's gone out in other games, when she's been missing, they're in the game. And then they just can't close it out. The other team's depth, experience, they have the killer instinct and the knockout punch.
Yeah, and the game against the Liberty a few nights ago really kind of falls into that descriptive there, Willie. I mean, they were in the game. They just could not do the things to stay in the game, stay out front. The Liberty hit them with a flurry late, and they didn't really have an answer in that one. So you've really got to be concerned about this team, especially, like you said, without Asia. So going to be interesting to watch how the West shapes up. What are your thoughts in the East, though? Because it's not the Liberty and everybody else at this point by any stretch.
It's not, and now here's the difference between the Liberty and the Aces, right? So the Liberty lose Jonquel Jones, which is a former MVP and a player who, I think Asia Wilson is still a 100%. Asia Wilson is still the best player on the planet, but Jonquel Jones is easily a top 10 player in the league. Some may have her in the top 5. I think if you have a guard-oriented mind, she may not be. If you have a big, if you think the bigs are what dominates the WNBA, Jonquel's got to be in your top 5. They lose her. And New York has had its struggles, but it still has Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart, right? It had Natasha Cloud. It's got this well-rounded roster, and it's staying in place. It's number 3 in the league right now. It's number 1 in the Eastern Conference, just ahead of the Atlanta Dream. And you have Sandy Brondello with the coaching mind. It's not to take away from any other, what we're talking about with Becky, but Sandy doesn't have those multitude of individual issues. If something happens with the Liberty, it seems to be a collective team effort in which they can go in and fix. and they have the components, whereas the Aces don't. The East is going to be fun. I will give you that, simply because of the Atlanta Dream, and if they can make a run at the New York Liberty. The Washington Mystics, I wrote, I think my first or second notebook of this season was how fun this team was going to be, and I think we're seeing that because you have two of the most electric rookies in the league, in Kiki Iriafen and Sonia Citron, plus you have Brittany Sykes. Slim is having an outstanding year. I wouldn't be surprised if she gets in the voting for most improved player because she's been outstanding. Not sure what to make of the Indiana Fever, but I will say this. And, of course, I'll be called a hater, right, with all the social media platforms that you guys have and all the sharings. I swear, this is the one guest appearance I make where I have, like, at least 40 notifications within 10 minutes because of all the reach. But people that are watching
Producer Mark Rogers at work there, folks.
Mark's getting it done. I'm not surprised that Indiana's struggling. It's like everybody thought that this was a slam dunk. They brought in all the resources to help Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark, if people people that love Caitlin Clark, 50% of their reason, if not more, is because of what she's done for the WNBA. It's a fair argument. She's not one of the best basketball players. I really hate to say it. You know, she has great eyes for the court, great court vision. She can pass on a dime. You never know what she's going to do. If she's just as good as she gets hot 3-pointers, she can tank the other way. Her defense is still suspect. So everybody that had them penciled in because of the components they brought in around her, it's not clicking yet. It's like the Aces. What's going on with the Fever? I'm not surprised by it. Sophie Cunningham was a nice addition. The DeWanna Bonner project did not work out. Lexi Hull, great defensive stopper. I like the coaching staff, but I think everybody thought, hey, we're going to have all these shiny new toys and we're going to put it all in the same place and it's just going to go and it's going to work. Well, the problem is sometimes that those pieces don't fit into the mechanism. You know what I mean? You can't put those pieces together and just expect them to work. You have to work with them. And so I don't know what to make of them. And it wouldn't shock me. It would not shock me if Indiana's battling with Vegas toward the end for that final playoff spot, if that's the route we go. But I think that right now, the way that the teams have been playing, if you look at the Eastern Conference standings, is exactly how good those teams are in that order. I think the Liberty are probably just ahead of the Dream, only because of the defending champs and they have the experience. I think then the Mystics, then the Fever, the Sky, and the Sun. The Sun, unfortunately, to say this, because I really like J.C. Sheldon and Marina Mabry, and I think that they should be building around J.C. Sheldon. I don't care what the haters say. She's a great basketball player. The Sun are the worst team in the league. So the standings, as you see them in the East, are probably exactly how good, that's the rankings that they should be.
Do they stay that way?
Well, it depends. Really, here's the thing. It depends on the Liberty, and if as long as they stay away from injuries, and Jonquel comes, when she comes back and she's fully healthy, and the Liberty gets stronger, the Atlanta could take them over. They're only one game back. Okay, if Atlanta, knock on wood, they don't suffer any injuries, Washington could make a run. Okay, I don't know if the Fever is catching the Mystics, but they're capable of doing it. It just depends because something's not right. Something's not working, right? I've heard the arguments that the Fever are better without Caitlin Clark. Those are the people that are saying, well, they came together. You could say that about the Aces, but people can say, well, look at how they played collectively without Asia. They come together and they look more competitive because they play more like a team. You have to when your star goes out of the game. So it's not been founded statistically that the Fever are better without Caitlin Clark. I just don't know if Stephanie White has everybody on the same page. So I don't know, to answer your question, if it stays that way. My prediction would be that it will, because I don't know if players like Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu are going to let that team fall any further and get any worse. We got the All-Star break coming up, guys, so these teams are going to get healthy.
Willie G. Ramirez joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Always enjoy his insight on the WNBA and other matters as well. Willie, appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon. Are you going to the All-Star game?
I'm not. I'm not going to go out to Indianapolis. I am going to I got some college football duties coming up in the next couple of weeks. We got the Mountain West Conference Media Days here, and then the following week we got Big Ten Media Days, so I'll be focused on that. Raiders training camp will be opening up soon, and the Aces will come back into action. So, going to take it easy, stay around town, do what I do and kind of just relax. So
We'll do that. Catch your breath, man. We appreciate you taking some time with us. We'll be catching up with you.
I'm going to leave this with you guys for the next show when you have me on. My sleeper team to be careful of that will spring from the bottom as they get healthier. Be careful for that 8th seed. Don't be surprised if the Dallas Wings shoot up. There you go.
We'll hang on to that. We will revisit it when we revisit you. Absolutely.
All right, guys.
Willie, thanks, man. All right. Let's go ahead and take a break here and get into our final segment, the weekend warm-up, as we get you ready for the weekend here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Stay tuned.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
There's a line that links us all. Most of the time, we don't even think about it, but it's everywhere. Illuminating our neighborhoods, empowering our businesses, and helping us to recharge. Whether it comes from our grids, the sun, or a kind heart, we believe in the power of good energy. And as your family and region continue to grow, you can trust that we'll always be there for you. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
Final segment of the weekend warm-up here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Your Wimbledon singles finals are set. You've got Anisimova and Swiatek in the women's finals tomorrow. Alcaraz and Sinner in the men's singles finals on Sunday. Wade, what do you think?
Man, if we get anything close to what we saw at Roland Garros in the Sinner and Alcaraz, sign me up. A 5-hour classic for the ages. I don't know that we're going to get that. It feels like Sinner, man, it's tough to determine because Sinner made quick work of Djokovic today, who was clearly limited with a little bit of an injury. So you kind of, don't know. That's 2 matches now. 2 matches in a row now, Mo. He won via retirement over Dimitrov in the quarters. And then he gets a wounded Djokovic today. Chris Fowler, it was kind of like Old Yeller. They were going to have to take Djokovic out back, but he gritted his way through the match and finished. I would give a lean to Alcaraz in that one, who did have to go to 4 sets today, but did knock off our last American competitor in the men's draw. So should be fun. Women's match, I'm done predicting the women's tournament. I'll be rooting for our American hopeful there because it's been a tournament full of upsets, and I'm not real sure what to make of Saturday's final.
I understand. I'm still struggling with strawberries and pasta though, so I'm gonna hope for Anisimova to get it done in the women's final. Um, NSC goes for what? 15 straight now? Is that right, or is it 16? Was Wednesday their 15th straight?
Wednesday was 15. As they like to
so
say
they're
in
going for
soccer,
16.
across all competitions. You scratch a couple of those off if you remove the U.S. Open Cup results, but massive showdown. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. We touched on it in the rundown. It will be on FS1, even though it is on the road. We still need some eyeballs on it because it is going to be a big showdown. In terms of perception, and even though Miami is a little bit behind NSC on the table, you kind of need to beat the big bad bully on the block a little bit to further kind of cement your rep. It'd be a fun matchup for them to win.
Yeah, obviously they're playing really well right now, but going to Miami and dealing with, like you said, the big bad bully and Messi, that's kind of a rite of passage right there. If they were to some kind of way go down there and like you like to say, if they could just go get a point, you feel pretty good. It almost feels like getting 3 points is too much to ask. Just go down and get a result. So we'll see how that goes as they go for their 16th straight unbeaten performance. Have you checked in on the Scottish Open any at all, Wade?
Yeah, I watched a little bit this afternoon. Man, links golf is fun to watch, and our boy Scotty was in a little bit of trouble. An errant tee shot on number 13, I think. He was out there looking for his ball for like 10 minutes. He finds it. He gets close to the green. Well, I say close. He's about 45 feet away. Just drains a birdie putt from the fringe. He's not really in the mix or in contention yet, but was fun to watch. He was in a good little pairing there with Adam Scott and Scottish native Bobby McIntyre. So watched a little bit. Should be fun over the weekend as we continue.
Chris Gotterup of the U.S. leads it.
Great golf name.
He is in the clubhouse with the lead, 11 under for the tournament, 9 under for the day. So he is the guy that everybody will be chasing as of right now, it looks like. So we'll see how that one goes. Meanwhile, Blades Brown shot a 3 over 75 in the opening round of the Ascendant Corn Ferry tournament yesterday out at TPC, Colorado. He qualified through Monday qualifying. Have not seen a result for the former Brentwood Academy standout today, but a 3 over 75 had him kind of back in the pack coming out of yesterday. So
tees off at 4, I believe. So right when we get done.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. So I don't guess we're going to have much for you on that until we get back on Monday. Let you know how it went. Hopefully he'll play into tomorrow and Sunday though. What else? NASCAR. They head out west this weekend. They're at Sonoma, another road track. And from talking to Heather on Wednesday, feels like Shane Van Gisbergen and Ty Gibbs are probably the ones to keep an eye on in this one.
Yeah, I'd like to see Van Gisbergen kind of do it again. Just I love the specialist kind of thing that he's got going on. And, man, he is electric in those road environments. Should be a fun one. I don't know. It'll be tough to beat the vibes at Chicago, but hopefully it lives up to the billing.
Yeah, you'd like to see that. And I think it's kind of cool when you see guys go back to back like that, too. We had that a couple earlier this season, so we'll see if SVG can pull that off. That's going to do it for the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Come back with us Monday at 2 o'clock. Wade and I will be here. Hope to see you, too. Y'all have a great weekend.